Morning, it's Fiona Whitten from Oakfield Crafts here, and today I'm going to share with you a fun fold card, and I've already posted a picture of this one up on my Facebook page yesterday, so if you just bear with me 2 ticks. So I had a little bit of an issue yesterday with how this thing was looking. It kind of went sideways, which is not what I want to have happen today. So I just need to check. Hopefully it is the right way round. And I can't find it. Why is it always does this to me? Heck. Well, I'm hoping, can someone give me a thumbs up to show that it's the right way round? I'm fairly certain that it is. Otherwise, I'm just going to crack on because I say I can't get this thing to play ball with me at the moment. And the issue is that, as you guys know, my internet is pretty rubbish. So I end up having to have my fingers crossed, basically, that things are working out. But so anyway, right, you don't need to hear me whittering on about that. So let's crack on. So I posted a picture of this card yesterday. I'm not actually going to make this design. We're going to do this fun fold. So for it's basically started off life as a normal A6 card, and then with a little bit of cutting, it turns out like this. It's not as difficult as some of you may think. And so without further ado, I'm going to show you what I'm going to be using this morning. So I seem to have an awful lot of the plaid tidings DSP at the moment. So I thought I'm actually going to start with that. I am going to make a Christmas card. And I grabbed some cardstock because I couldn't figure out whether I actually wanted to start with Blackberry Bliss or with Cherry Cobbler. But looking at it, I think I might actually start with Blackberry Bliss. It's kind of in your face, but you know what? At the same time, it's actually quite cool. So that's what I'm going to go with. So I've got my piece of coloured cardstock. I only need a 6x6 piece of the double-sided paper. I'm not going to go with that side. I'm going to go with the Cherry Cobbler and the Blackberry Bliss side. And I also need 1 sheet of Whisper White. So you can get 1 card out of a whole sheet of A4. You do end up with a little bit left, but not enough to make another card, but not enough for scraps. So we're going to take our coloured cardstock and we're going to make standard card base. So you're going to put the cardstock in with the long side at the top of your trimmer, and you're going to cut down at well, I cut at 14.85, but most people just say 14.9. So you're going to cut down there. So hopefully you're with me. You're then going to turn it so that you then again got the long side at the top, and you're going to score down at 10.5 centimetres. And I should say this is all in centimetres, it's not in inches. So once you've done that, you're going to move your cardstock so that the score line moves to the right, and you're going to line up with the 8.5 centimetre line, like so, and then you're going to cut that piece. So this piece is actually going to form your card. You need to get your bone folder, I'm just going to move that for a second, bone folder out, burnish it. Okay. So this 2 centimetre strip that you have here is actually part of your card front. This is effectively the back inside part of your card. That's the front. So, and you will then have a piece of cardstock left, which came from here. So that measures 8.5 because that's where we cut it at, and that's the 14.9. So I actually want to cut it so that it's 8.5 by 10 point. Normally I would say 10.5, but that's cutting it a bit fine, because what you want to do is you're going to be gluing this inside that, and you don't want to go over this score line here. So I'm going to cut it at 10.3, so it's slightly shorter, and then I know I don't have to worry about it. So that's that piece. So in a minute we're going to glue that inside, so it'll go effectively like that. So it forms a T shape. But I'm not going to glue it just yet. So I'm going to now start cutting my designer series paper. So I want a strip that goes across the top there. So I'm going to cut it at 1.5 centimeters. Now normally I would say don't worry about getting things in line, but it much depends on the design of your paper. If it's something with a random design, then you can just simply cut it and not worry about it. But I'm going to be careful about this. So I'm going to cut along here. So I'm going to turn, well, all along there. Whatever way you start to cut, you need to be consistent. So I'm going to cut at 1.5 centimeters. Now I'm going to use this 1.5 centimeter mark here because it's easier, because it means that my paper stays flat on the board, and I'm not having to try and hold it and cut it at the same time. So that's my 1.5 that will go along the top, but I don't want it, because this is 6x6 paper, so I want to cut it at 14.4, and I will put all these dimensions onto instructions that you'll be able to get hold of later. So that piece is going to go on here like that. So we're going to work our way slowly through all these. So you're then going to need, taking your Whisper White, and I'm going to cut it in half, so that I've got half a piece that I can use for something else. I'm then going to cut it at 10 centimeters and turn it and cut it at 14.4. So this is actually going to form our innie. So that's the piece that would normally go, well, it will go inside the card. So it will go here like that. Now I have to double check which one I've done. I've done it that way, right. So that's that. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to cut 2 pieces to decorate the inside here. And I need to cut them to be 1.5 centimeters. So again, I'm going to do 1.5. No, sorry. Change again. I've lost my instructions. Cut 2 pieces, 2.5. So not 1.5, 2.5. So I want 2.5 centimeter pieces. Sorry, you probably can't see this. I've probably gone off. Let's move this back again. So I've got 2 pieces that are 2.5 centimeters wide, and I want to cut them so that they're 2.5 by 9.5. There is method in my madness, believe it or not. I found that this is actually the easiest way to do this. So double check that those are the 2 pieces and they line up. So what I'm going to do is put my trimmer away. I'm going to bring back this, what will be normally your innie for the card, and I'm going to glue those 2 pieces of designer series paper, one each end. So with your glue, and I would use wet glue. If you like prefer to use tape, that's fine. It's personal preference. I like to use glue simply because I've got some wiggle room on it, and invariably I have to line things up. You don't need too much, she says, as she sort of spreads it about a bit. So I'm going to put that one here, and you want a little border so that it's equal top, bottom and to the side. So that's that. And then I'm going to do the same thing again with this piece. Now you don't have to use designer series paper here. You could stamp an image each end, or you could just leave it blank. But I like having the paper on. I think it just finishes the card off. So I've got my Whisper White piece with my 2 pieces of designer series paper on, and I'm now going to glue that into the back of the card, or the inside back. Like so. Now the reason I'm doing it this way, she said it's getting a bit of a mess here, is because, let me just move that and wiggle it around a bit. That's fine. It means that I've got a frame for putting this centerpiece on. I did one without doing it this way, and I kind of ended up having a border slightly larger than the other side. And of course, if you want to, if you don't like to do it that way, you could just simply get your ruler out and measure it and mark appropriately. But I just found that it's easier just to do this. So we're now going to glue this piece in. 2 things you need to remember. First off, you do not want to take your card above that score line. If you do, it's going to be very, very difficult to fold that top over, and it will make the fold very bulky. And then the other thing is, of course, to make sure that you line up with the bottom of the card. So I'm actually going to put the glue on the top here. I've got a frame of reference as to whether how far left and right I should go, because I've got the other piece here. Don't take it right down to the score line, because, as I said, you also don't want to glue it to the back of the card. So I have that. I'm just making sure that that's lined up and central. So I've got a border each side, and it is lined up with the bottom, and then just fold that over. And effectively that is your base card. So it's not as complicated as it looks. So that's my base card. I've got a piece of designer series paper here that I can add to here. Now again, it's up to you. You don't have to. You could use a different coloured cardstock, which you can emboss. You can just wrap some ribbon around it. Decoration wise, it's really up to you. So I'm just giving you ideas, and I'd be very flattered if you copied, but at the same time you don't have to. So I'm just going to glue that piece on like so. So effectively we've now just really got that central panel to do. And again, you can stamp, die cut, colour, paper, whatever. It's really up to you. I'm going to try, in theory, and keep it simple. So I've got a quarter of my Whisper White and what's left of my designer series paper. So I'm going to, and I've also got my other half of the Blackberry Bliss. So I'm going to start off with the Blackberry Bliss. I'm going to move that out the way, and hopefully this time you'll see where I'm cutting. So this time, with what's left of that other half of the Blackberry Bliss, I am going to cut a piece that measures 8 centimetres by 10 centimetres. So I'm going to line it up with my 8 centimetre mark, cut it. turn it and line it up with the 10cm mark. So I've got a piece of 8 by 10. I'm then going to cut 2 more layers. So I'm going to cut a piece of Whisper White, which is going to be 7.5 by 9.5. Let's see, that's 9. So we're going to go 7.5 by 9.5. So that piece will mat up and layer onto that piece. And then I'm going to take what's left of my designer series paper, and I'm going to cut a piece that measures 7 by 9. Yes, to think. Okay, I've got enough there. But this piece I'm not too worried about whether or not it matches up, because a lot of it is actually going to be covered up. So that's 7 by 9. And that's really that's all the cutting done. So it's a simple stick these together. So I'm going to add the paper. To the Whisper White. Like so. And then I'm going to glue that to the Blackberry Bliss. That's why I need a bit of wiggle room on this one. Obviously I haven't. So that's that. Bring back my base card, which I've carefully put somewhere under everything. Now it's up to you. You can glue this direct to the card front, or you can use dimensionals. So the idea is that you have a little, I don't know if you can see, hopefully, there's going to be a little border around it, so, and it's going to line up with the designer series paper at the top. So you can either glue it, or I'm actually going to use dimensionals. In fact, I'm going to use my scrap dimensionals, because this one's sheet's nearly finished. And waste not, want not. I don't know, for some reason when it's the scrap pieces I seem to be a bit more generous than when I'm just using the actual hexagonals. I don't know why that is, really, because I mean it's just still the same thing but just a slightly different shape. But there you go, that's just me, one of my funny quirks. Right, I think they're all off. Yep. So I'm going to turn the card around that way. In theory. Maybe not, because I can't actually see. It's the problem when you're doing things at a bit of a distance from where you actually are. I think that's about it. So that's your base card. That's done. And you really just got a little bit of decorating to do now. So I thought I would show you a technique as well today, and it's something that I touched on the other week, but I said I wasn't going to go into details. So I've got my scrap of Whisper White here. I've got what's left of my Blackberry Bliss, and I've got my ink pads somewhere. Now, am I going to use Blackberry Bliss, or am I going to use... I think I'm actually not going to use Blackberry Bliss. I'm going to use my Cherry Cobbler. So there are a few things that you can do. Actually, put the lid on my glue as well so that doesn't dry up. And that is with my stamp set, my trusty wrapped in Christmas. Let's move that out of the way so I don't put my elbow in it. So I'm going to use this stamp here. May your days be merry and bright, and then it has a cute little thing around it. So I just have to find that. So it's that one. I need a stamping block, which I thought I had. Yes, I do. I've kind of hidden them behind me somewhere. Does that fit on there? Just. So that one will fit on there. So we can do one of two things. We can simply use an ink pad and stamp like so, and then I'm going to use a 1.5 inch punch to cut that out. So you turn your punch upside down so you can see your sentiment. When you're happy with it, punch through. And again, you can either just add that on, or what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use another different punch, and I'm going to make a larger label. And I am going to put that on top, I think like that. So that's one thing, you just use the ink pads as normal. An alternative is to use your Stampin' Right markers. Now I say Stampin' Right markers, not Stampin' Blend. So you want to use your Stampin' Right markers. The reason you want to use these is because they're water based. So they're the same ink that's in the ink pads. If you use your blends, they're alcohol based. And one that will dry really quickly if you use a blend, and also it will won't come off your stamp. You'll have to be quite vigorous in the cleaning with it with different products. But if you use those Stampin' Right markers, it's very simple because you just literally clean the stamps in the normal way like you would if you were cleaning it after you've inked it. So let's see, I need to clean it anyway. So I'm going to use my Simply Chamois, which, yes, I know it looks to be a bit of a mess. Believe it or not, I actually rinsed that out last night. It grabs the colour, the ink, and then leaves your stamp nice and clean. So I could use Blackberry Bliss, but I just realised that the Blackberry Bliss marker is still over in the thing. So I'm going to use just Cherry Cobbler and what have I got here? Shaded Spruce. So you'll get the general idea, and then the idea is that you just use the brush tip of your marker and you colour whichever bits that you want to be that particular colour. So I'm going to put all the words in Cherry Cobbler. Yeah, please don't use the thin end because you'll be there all day doing that. And I've got got the bright here. Some of these are sometimes difficult to pick out. The E doesn't go into that, so it's that, and the T. Oh, the T kind of does, but doesn't. Right. And then, so once you've done the Cherry Cobbler bit, you then use the other colour, whatever colour you're using. So I'm going to use the Shaded Spruce to do the outside. Now, what you will find is that the first colour that you put on will start to dry, which is not such a good idea when you want to stamp. But there is a way around it. Right, I think I might need to go back on this one. Yeah. You could quickly go over again, but the one thing that we do is you huff on it. So you just huff, and that from your breath is enough to dampen the ink again. Whoops, she says. So sometimes you'll come to class, it sounds like a load of women, or people just heavy breathing. There we go. So I reactivated it, and then now it's stamped. And you can do this, I mean, I could pick out the words so that the words are in different colours, the letters are in different colours, all sorts of things. It's a really good, cool technique to use your markers with. So we've got all cherry cobbler or cherry cobbler and shaded spruce. I actually quite like that, so I'm going to put that on there. And then the other question is, do I use dimensions? I think I'm just going to glue this. Oops, I don't think I punched that out too well. So I'm going to glue this to the card front. Oops. Put that in the middle, like so. And then I'm going to get my dimensionals out again. Papers and snips, where are they? I'm going to just, oops, I had snipped them already, I couldn't see. So I'm just going to use these again, the dimensionals. I don't think this card's going to get posted to anyone. It's going to be given, well, in theory it will be given by hand. That's my plan at the moment. So may your day be merry and bright. And then you can add whatever embellishments you want. If you want to add ribbon around here, then you just need to do it before you stick this piece on. It's obviously too late for me to do it now. Similarly, if you want to add ribbon around here, then you want to do it before you've applied that. So add some rhinestones, or let's see, what have I got? What can I use? I've got some holiday rhinestones here, so I think I might use them. Use the putty end of my take your pick tool, which somehow seems to have gone a bit nuts and spewed out the putty. You don't need much on there. I think I'm going to use some green. Sorry about that. I think that was my husband. Let's see, where should we go? Actually, I don't know. I'll put one down here, I think. Maybe I'll put 3 different sizes. But you get the general gist of it. So add a bit of bling, and then obviously when you come to send your card, you have your space to write your sentiment, or you can stamp another sentiment on there. It's really up to you. And that's it. So that was how to make that overlay fun fold card. So there's that one. This is the one that I had shared yesterday, so with the gnomes on. This is a bit more well, I wouldn't say complicated, intricate, I guess, in that I've used the square stitch dies, I've stamped the tree, and I stamped and then coloured the gnomes. I had to fussy cut them. So that's that one. I've done one with Christmas paper. So again, I used this time, so it's the same technique as this. So I've used my Stampin' Write markers and then just simply did different colours for each line. Then I have paper with the holly on it. And then I do have one more to share, and that's so. This is something that's coming in the January to June catalogue. So it's the stamp set's called Dandy Garden, and it comes with this image and dragonflies, and then I use the Dandy Garden paper. So this isn't the Dandy Garden, it's the Dragonfly Garden. So it's this is the stamp that I used on that. So this stamp came from exactly the same stamp set as this one. So this was the Wrapped in Christmas cling stamp set. So some of you may have this already from the Christmas stamper stack. So as I was saying, you don't just have to use ink, you can use all sorts of other techniques like your markers and other things. So anyway, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that. Next Wednesday it's Card and a Cuppa. So hope you have your kits handy for next week, and I will see you then. Take care. Bye.